it's Jess. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to today's video. Today's video is actually going to be a tag video. I don't do these very often, but Kitty tagged me over a month ago now, so I'm very late getting to this video. I did really want to do it, so today I am doing a very late back to school book tag. Because I am getting to this tag so late, I also decided to add a very tiny, very small layer of difficulty to this tag, and I wanted to make sure that all of the books I was recommending in this video are all books that I think are perfect for the fall months, and I definitely think that you should check out these books for the fall. So first up, we have new school here, the start of something new. Pick a debut novel that I think is awesome. For this, I picked The Hacienda by Isabel Canas. If you know me, this is not a surprise. I absolutely loved this novel. This is an adult gothic horror novel. It is also a haunted house story. This book, in my opinion, is an absolutely spectacular debut novel. In this, you follow a woman, and it's just her and her mother at this point, and they have fallen on very difficult times. And so, as a way to help try to better their position in life, she agrees to marry this extremely wealthy man. He is very wealthy, however, he's unable to get a wife because his first wife died under mysterious circumstances. So understandably, no one else wants to marry him. And then once she gets to the house, mysterious, creepy things start happening. You kind of lose your perspective of what is dreams, what is reality when you're within this house. And I think it's just executed in such an amazing way. The language and the prose are so delicious and so gothic. This is one of the few books that I think really nails the way gothic prose should be done. It's just outstanding. It's beautiful. And I think also the atmosphere in this book is absolutely fantastic. This is a perfect fall read if you enjoy haunted house stories, if you want something ultra creepy, if you want it all wrapped up in a bow that's pretending to be pretty but is not pretty at all, then this is definitely the book for you. Up next is Teachers. They're full of wisdom and meant to guide you. Pick a character that you think is full of sage wisdom, and this is actually going to be quite a bit of pivot from book one, but I think that it works. I'm choosing Thimble from Legends and Lattes, and you know what? Thimble knows so much about baked goods. Did you read how delicious these recipes sounded? If you haven't, you really need to check out this book because Thimble is a master of their craft, and as someone who enjoys baking, I would love to just learn from them. This is a cozy fantasy where you follow an orc, Viv, who has spent the majority of her life as a mercenary, but now she is looking to retire. So she takes her fortune and she opens up a coffee shop in this town, except the only problem is no one really knows what coffee is in this town, so she kind of has to convince them that they like it. Along the way, she meets a really heartwarming cast of characters, including Thimble. She ends up with a cute romance and some found family, and it's just a really wonderful, cozy fantasy book. And in my opinion, a book that's filled with warm coffee and warm friendship and warm baked goods. I think that is absolutely perfect for the fall weather. This is a book that will just make you feel so cozy. Next up is favorite subject. Everyone has a favorite class. Pick a book from your favorite genre. If you are not aware, if this is your first time watching one of my videos, by far my favorite genre is fantasy, but I also really enjoy horror and thriller, and as a result, I have chosen Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. I love this series with all of my heart. This is one where, like, if you read this and you don't like it, don't tell me, because I don't want to know. It might hurt my feelings if you don't like this book. This is another absolutely perfect fall read. So basically the catchphrase for this book series is lesbian necromancers in space. And yes, that is true, but I do want to talk about it a little bit more. This is a series, unfortunately, it is incomplete at the moment. We are currently waiting on book number 4. In this first book, you are in Gideon's point of view. She is an orphan who has been taken in as a ward and therefore indebted to the 9th house. You might think like, oh, there are 9 houses on this planet. However, you would be wrong. The 9th house is the 9th planets, actually. The 9th house, like all the other houses on the other planets, are a necromancy house, but they have fallen on hard times. Each of the houses tends to specialize in something unique, and really no one is patronizing the 9th house anymore. They are poor. Everything is fallen apart. All of the living residents are old and dying, except for a handful of them. Dying in the 9th house is not even an escape, because for Gideon, they even have contracted her afterlife, and they will use her cold dead body with their necromancy. So she has been trying to escape this fate for years and years, except every attempt at escape that she's had has been foiled by Harrow, who is her arch nemesis. Harrow is the heir to the 9th house, and she is an absolute genius necromancer. She is a prodigy. At the beginning of this book, Harrow gets invited to come to the first house and kind of compete / take tests to become a lictor for the emperor, which is a position of immense power, and Harrow desperately wants this. A, because she needs it. The 9th house is failing and they desperately need something so that they don't just fall off of the face of the planet. But she also wants it for herself desperately, because she wants more power. She wants more from life than living on a decrepit planet where everything is falling apart. Harrow makes a deal with Gideon because as part of this competition, she needs someone who can wield a sword, and Gideon, wouldn't you know it, has sword training. She is the best swords person on their planet. It's not stiff competition. There's only 3 of them, and one of them is like 100 years old. So Gideon kind of gets the gig by default, and Harrow basically tells her, hey, if you can help me win this competition with your big giant muscles, once I become a lictor, I will free you from your servitude of the 9th house. You can go live your life on whatever other planet you want. And Gideon's like, well, I guess I don't have anything better to do. So they begin their journey. They reach the 9th house. This competition begins, and then people start dying. The steps of this competition are also like not really laid out. They're given like a couple of rules, and as long as they follow these rules, they can pretty much do whatever they want, and it's up to them to figure out how to win. It's also interesting because it's not a true competition. Like, they could all win. Everyone who's invited could win, or they could all fail. And it's really just based up to them. Like, who do they want to try to trust? Who do they want to work together? What kind of alliances can be made? Who's gonna backstab who? Who is murdering? Or what is murdering? Because, oh yeah, they're necromancers. Necromancer murder mystery? Like, is that not a perfect book for fall? Tell me what a better book for fall could possibly be. That's Gideon the 9th. I love this series with all of my heart. I also think this series is very interesting creatively because each book in the series has a different narrator, and Tamsin Muir has changed her prose and her syntax to match the narrator's personality, and it's just so interesting to see how things change from book to book. Like, the humor changes, the jokes change, how the characters think, like what choices they like, everything changes between these books. And I'm not saying that Tamsin Muir is the first person to do that, but I have never read personally another series where the writing style changes so drastically between each book, and I think it is so fascinating. Please read this series and like it. If you don't like it, I never recommended this book to you. Next up, we have Syllabus, which is the basic layout for everything that's going to happen this semester. Pick a book that is predictable. For me personally, I don't really mind predictability in books. I feel like I've read so many books at this point that it's really difficult to shock me. I know a lot of people dislike predictability. They consider it a flaw of books. So I wanted to kind of subvert this. And for this, I picked This is Vegan Propaganda and Other Lies the Meat Industry Tells You by Ed Winters. This is exactly what this book is. It's all right there in the title. There's going to be no surprises when you pick this book up. This is a nonfiction book about veganism. Ed Winters goes in here and basically kind of informs the reader why he thinks you should be vegan, and also kind of debunks some of the misconceptions about veganism. And this is also a perfect fall read because a lot of people like to participate in Nonfiction November, and I think that this is a great book to add to your Nonfiction November. First of all, it's not that long, and a lot of nonfiction books are really long, but I also think that this is really great because it's meant to be read and understood by anybody. This book is not dense, and it's also written so that if you have absolutely no knowledge of veganism, that you still will be able to understand what Ed Winters is talking about in here. It is not confusing at all. It's extremely consumable, and this is also the book that convinced me to go vegetarian. I am not vegan. I still am not vegan, and it's also not in the immediate future for me to go vegan, though it is something that I do think about. It is just not feasible for me at the moment, but I think that this is a really, really good introduction to why veganism is important and why limiting your animal-based product intake is also important. I did want to give a quick caveat to this book though, that if you read this and you are thinking about changing your diet, please do adequate research on the topic. Like I said, this is a short book and this is like a very basic introduction to veganism, but Ed Winters does not really address who should not go vegan in here. He's presenting much bigger arguments for a large audience, and there are definitely reasons why someone should not go vegan, primarily health reasons. So I did just want to mention that before you pick this book up. Even though I recommend it, I think it's extremely informative and I do think you should read it. Before you swap up your dietary habits, I do think it's important to do research on it. I think that even though all of us across the board can make better choices in the types of products we consume, it might not be possible for you personally to go completely vegan, and it is important for you to know the reasons why you shouldn't as well. Next up, we have pencils. I was supposed to be taking notes, but I ended up mainly just drawing. This was not me. This was not me ever. I took a lot of notes. I was a nerd. I don't know if you can tell that. But for this, we're supposed to pick a character who is an artist. And for that, I have picked Shallan from the Stormlight Archives. This is not book 1 in the Stormlight Archives, but it was the one that was easiest to grab off of my bookshelf because it was on top. Listen, I don't have time to tell you what the Stormlight Archives is about. Brandon Sanderson is a massively popular author. I love the Stormlight Archives. And even though there isn't really anything particularly fallish about this series, I do think that you should pick it up this fall because book number 5 comes out in December. This is an epic high fantasy series, and it's actually going to be split up into 2 arcs. So books 1 through 5 are going to complete the first arc of the story. So if you're looking for the time to get into this series, it's now. I absolutely love the character of Shallan. She's a noble girl who is an extremely talented artist. Her family has fallen on some hard times, and so she tries to convince another noble woman, the king's sister actually, to take her on as a ward in order to steal a prized possession because it will help her family. Sounds honestly like a really bad plan, but you know, beggars can't be choosers. When you are desperate, you're desperate. But the thing that gets the queen's sister to actually accept Shallan as her ward is her artistic linguistic capabilities. And I love her. I think she is such an interesting and complex character. Can I tell you why? No, spoilers. However, I love her. She is one of my favorite characters to exist. I find her endlessly fascinating. She's also like a hot mess, and I tend to really like hot mess characters. She's extremely chaotic. Everything around her ends up being chaotic because of her, and it makes her plot lines so interesting. You never really know what's gonna happen. Next up is books. You know, the things that have all the knowledge in them. What is your current read? And I do have a couple of books that I'm currently working on, but I think the one most appropriate for fall, and this is actually going to be a spoiler for an upcoming vlog, so shh, don't tell anyone. I'm reading Lady Macbeth by Ava Reed. I am this far into it. I don't have the desk jacket on it, but who cares, because the naked hardcover is stunning. This is a feminist Macbeth retelling from the perspective of Lady Macbeth. Obviously, I've just started it, so I can't actually tell you if this book is good, but so far I am enjoying it. And I will say it is the perfect fall setting. We're in this like cold, creepy castle. The wind is constantly blowing, and you can always kind of hear like the ocean and the waves beating on the shore no matter where you are in this castle. So it's just very atmospheric so far, perfect for the fall. And yeah, I will let you know. You can keep your eye out for the vlog where I read this. And then next up is backpack. I used to cram entirely too much into mine. Pick a book that has too much crammed into it. And you know, this was me. I used to bring at least 2 books every day to high school with me. My high school backpack was a little embarrassing. For this, I have actually picked Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. First of all, it's the only 5-star I've ever given to Riley Sager, and I love this book. This is an adult thriller. I have since stopped reading Riley Sager because I just can't get the magic of this book back. But despite that, I love this book. And this book does too much in a good way. This is an adult thriller where you follow this woman, and something happened when she was a child and they fled their family home. I don't remember how old she was, but like around like 5 or something. Her parents just grabbed her, got in the car, like they left behind clothes, they left behind furniture, and they never ever went back to that house. Afterwards, her father wrote the story of what happened, and it is a haunted house story. However, the woman has never ever believed that that is the case, and then when her father passes away, she ends up inheriting the house, and she decides to go back and fix it up because it's been sitting empty for like over 20 years at this point. So she's going to fix it up and she's going to sell it, and then once she gets there, wouldn't you know it, creepy shit starts happening. I really enjoyed my time in this book. It is perfect for fall. It is also like, it's so creepy. And then when you get to the end, you think you found out what happens, but then something else, and then something else, and then something else. It is so extra. But for me personally, I think it really worked. And then the last up is your school friends, and this I'm supposed to tag somebody. However, I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of embarrassed that I'm doing the back to school tag like over a month into school already starting. So I'm not gonna tag people and call attention to how late I am to this. So if you want to do it, consider yourself tagged. I tag you. Go ahead, make this video. But there you go. Those are 7 books that I think are perfect for you to read this fall. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. I would really appreciate that. I hope that you stay safe this week. I hope you stay warm. I think that you probably deserve a back to school treat for all of the hard work you've done in the month you've been back to school. And I'll see you with another video soon. Goodbye.